Welcome everybody to the August 29th Ortelius architecture meeting. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And I dropped the minute meeting notes in the chat. See if I can zoom this in for you guys. All right, so just go ahead and sign in if you could. So I've been doing a lot of work on the back end of the microservices. So thank you, Arvin and Sasha and Tracy, for approving one of the PRs. There's gonna be more PRs coming. Um, Things are moving along. So the main back end piece I've been focusing on is how to create a component version in the new version. So I have a CLI that I've created in Golang. So our current CLI is in Python. I've kind of transformed that into Golang, so it's a little bit easier on the install piece because Golang, you kind of compile everything into a single executable, and you don't have to worry. The dependencies are baked into it. Put it that way. So the CLI is able to post over to some backend microservices to create the component version. And then this time, Sasha, I've actually changed things up. So we actually do have one microservice calling another microservice.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. Cool.
so before we'd always come back around the front end.
Yes.
Um, so if we needed something, we'd just come back around through the front door and add
Yes.
more things. This time we actually have a service calling another service.
Oh,
That's
cool.
mainly around the scorecard piece.
Oh,
And
cool.
the reason why I did that was if a scorecard doesn't exist, we can run the scorecard command line program and generate it ourselves. So it made
Yes.
sense to kind of break that processing off into its own microservice. So basically, what will happen is the component version microservice will talk to the scorecard service to get the scorecard. If one doesn't exist, it'll generate it and bring it back at that level. Learned a lot around Arango. So initially it was just some basic collections, but to get the relationships between the component versions and all these objects, I've actually had to create what are called edge collections. You can think of them as a relational table. They have two columns, basically, your from key and your to key, so it gives you that bridge to move through the graph. And along with that, understanding how to create indexes in Arango, and then a graph is basically it's an object that uses the edge collection and other collections to do the internal. It's like the internal navigation system
Yeah.
to move through the relationships.
So, Steve,
Um,
just to ask you on that, so was the
yep.
communication for the microservices hitting the front end kind of like an API? It was an API, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then going towards,
Yeah, so everything's still RESTful APIs. So
yeah.
we just hit the OpenSSF scorecards, a Golang program running fiber. So just
They're just
basically a
talking directly
mini.
now. Instead of
Yeah,
instead of having a piece in the middle, it's a direct communication now in the back end.
yeah,
I think that's cool
exactly.
design. I think that's a great design. Yeah, because isn't that taking resource pressure off your other services then? Because now they
It
don't have
it
to go via something.
yeah, and also it takes resources. It cuts down the resources going through the front end load balancer as well.
Oh, of course. Yeah, so through your Nginx, right? Your Nginx can do less now because it doesn't go through Nginx.
Right,
Uh,
right.
does
So
that make
going
security easier? Does that make security easier now because it's only talking? It's not exposed. You
um
can.
Yeah, it's internal. So the scorecard would be an internal service that wouldn't have an exposed outbound port or anything like that. So it
Yeah.
does minimize the security stance a little bit, not a lot, because it's just one
Okay.
microservice.
Yeah. Sure. But in that sense, because security creates overhead in communication, can you use a more insecure protocol, or is it best to not do that?
Um, One of the things I was going to ask you about, and we don't have to get into it today,
Mm.
is um, for the internal pod communication, so pod to pod communication,
Yeah,
um, how you do that over an encrypted
connection.
HT, yeah, HTTPS connection,
That's
and
a
managing the certificates. If I think Istio has something maybe baked
traffic
in.
too. Traffic
Yeah,
too.
traffic may be a thing as well, that can help us
Mm.
out on the
No, definitely.
internal
Traffic can
internal.
do it.
Okay, I
Traffic can
just
definitely
wasn't.
do it.
Does
Yeah.
traffic hook up to like Let's Encrypt or something?
Yeah. No, I've got it working. I
Uh,
use it permanently. I have a wildcard to test my Ortelius deployment,
yeah,
and everything's TLS. All the communication inside is TLS
nice.
internally. Yeah, yeah. I put it in the blog. I can maybe go a bit deeper into that. Yeah.
Not yet. Let me get a little further along with just
Okay,
regular
cool.
HTTP,
Cool.
and then because I have not right now, I'm just running all this locally, so you
Yeah.
can see. I have a bunch of windows, so I actually go out and start all the different microservices manually,
Hmm.
and then they all list on specific ports,
Yeah.
so I don't have a port conflict.
Yeah.
So like this one comes up on 8881, so I'm just
Yeah.
manually routing to
Yeah.
specific
Yeah.
ports at this point.
So the
But
cool thing
eventually,
is,
this will
Steve.
go back to the
Oh,
default. Yeah.
yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, but the cool thing about Trafic, it is auto discovers the services and creates them itself. So if you tell it to only use secure,
Oh, nice.
you can make a what they call a middleware, which can force all the
Uh huh.
traffic to be secure. So you can still keep your insecure, but you can say you can, for example, we could make internal traffic is allowed to communicate on secure, allowed to communicate on insecure, but we prefer secure, right? And then
Right.
obviously you can expose your services that you need to expose to the public, make it secure only, for example. And then traffic auto discovers, makes its own routes, auto discovers it and secures it for you, which is pretty amazing, right?
Oh, nice.
It makes a lot of takes a lot of headaches away, right? On the ingress side. Yeah.
Yep. Perfect.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm gonna once I get, I should have a couple more pull requests coming through
Yeah.
to wrap up the component version. The one thing I did look into, so, and I have to figure out, it's an Arango thing. So, like I said, a graph is a relationship. Normally, it has the from and to keys. So I want to go from a component version key to an SBOM key, for example. So
Yeah,
there's going to be a
cool.
row in that table that kind of maps that in the graph. Um,
Yeah.
One of the next thing I have to do is, because component versions are hierarchical, or more like a linked list. So you have your parent version, and that parent version has a parent version, all the way up,
Hmm.
kind of like your Git commit tree
Yeah, yeah.
um, that you have. That I have to implement a graph for that to be able to navigate. So when I create a component version, I know who my parent is and who my you know zero um, entry zero in the link list is. So
Correct.
I have to create that graph object to help with the navigation, things like that, to make it easier.
Yeah, just on the PRs, I'm still in Santiago, Chile, so my Spanish is getting way better, but it's still
Nice.
it's very terrible still. And most of the time I'm having to say lento, lento, muy rápido, too rapido. Más. So I'm learning Spanish, which Elizabeth will be
Nice.
glad to hear, because maybe soon I can practice, Bom dia. I say I say lots of lo siento, what else? How do you say that thing again with the Spanish? Yo solo do poco. Also, yo solo. Huh? Never mind, guys. You know that thing.
Yep, that thing.
Sasa will,
Nice.
yeah, Sasa
It's like
will go
Elizabeth.
to
Elizabeth is
Spain
smiling. She's
next.
having a laugh. Yeah, so I'm approving PRs
Yes.
on my phone.
Perfect.
Yeah. It
I
works
should have
very
another
well.
one today. So
Okay, cool. Yeah.
um, we'll, I just have to wrap something up and I'll get it created. Um, so any other questions on that topic?
No, that's all good. So when I'm back, I'm going to pull down the new Ortelius for my on-prem deployment. You know, my little platform that I'm building with Ortelius that I'm simulating, right? What it would be like in an enterprise, right? So that other people can build it and see how Ortelius works, right?
Yep.
So that's where I'm. That when I get back home, I'll carry on with that, and that's where I am at the moment. But I'm having a bit of issues with storage. Storage is becoming a bit of an issue because I think it's a bit too slow using my old school SAN. Yeah, but
Right.
it could just be me because storage is such a complex uh, thing to configure, and there's these different ways of configuring it, you know. So I have to just dig into that a bit more. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
Cool.
any other questions on the back end stuff?
I will also start
All right.
contributing to backend soon. I love the work that you
Okay.
have done so far, and now I want to follow you.
All right. We'll get you moving on that. Um, so in here is the link to the Figma that Arvin's been working on. So let
Oh,
me
cool,
jump over
Alvin.
to that.
Yeah, I think it's the
So
starting point. Yes.
yeah, definitely. Um, so some of the requirements that we have, uh, as we talked about before, the hamburger menu on the left side being collapsible. So I think this one here was it desktop 3. Let me see if I can zoom in.
Oh, cool.
May not let me zoom in.
Hey, Raj. Yeah.
So desktop 3. Let me go there.
Are these examples of what our graphing could look like to show criteria, right?
Steve, you
Right.
can also preview.
So there it is.
Mm, cool.
So I think so. The hamburger menu we'll have to build out, or it's collapsible. I think right now this list is pretty good. We're not going to have a huge list of
Mm-hmm.
things in the menu that we're going to need to have. It's not going to be like the Google Cloud menu where they have menus and submenus because they have hundreds of things in it. I think we're going to be less than probably 6 to 8 at the most. Probably,
Yeah.
I'm guessing less than 6 items in it, so we don't have to get super fancy over here.
Otherwise, it
And if
gets
we
too
think this is
psychedelic, eh?
overkill,
Yeah.
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 Um, so that will need to implement. And then the other thing is on this side, I like the boxes. Let me go to the other desktop. Oh, there it
That's a
is.
really nice
So
menu interface, right? Showing you response times, how many max services you've got, their health. It's really cool.
so so
Steve, the second one is
these boxes, I think we should the second one.
yeah, because it's
There we go.
contained the filters.
So this second one, yeah. The second one, the boxes are really nice because the boxes, when you get into a responsive menu or responsive website, and you go from desktop to mobile, that these just fall in line, on your phone. So I like these boxes here as part of the layout.
Mm.
So one of the things that we need to do today is kind of lay out what we want to, some ideas for the statistics that we need to lay out. And Arvid had a good start here, and I think some of this, like the total microservices or total components, I think some of that we can actually build upon. Let me just put a metrics. There's numbers. Bulleted list, numbered list. All right. So I think some of the metrics are going to be like total components, total, and we don't have to list all of these. We can combine some of them, that type of thing. Like maybe like the number of reusable components. The other one I thought was number of package dependencies. And this will be from the SBOM. I don't know how we would display it, but what are the, well, let's say like top 10 most used package dependencies.
That's good.
It'd be the top 10 most vulnerable.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Probably something along those lines, number of vulnerabilities.
Would that also show something if there's like a 0 day? Would that be like?
I don't think a 0 day would show up. If there was a CVE that was created for the 0 day, then it would show up.
Okay. Yeah. So that top 10
Oh,
would
that,
include,
yeah.
yeah.
How about number of fixes available?
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, of course, a 0 day, they wouldn't know. There wouldn't be anything yet.
Well, like there is an Nginx 0 day vulnerability, and what it was it was an actual the 0 day fix was changing a configuration parameter.
Oh wow.
So it really wasn't a vulnerability in the Nginx itself. It was a vulnerability in the default config.
Uh-huh. Interesting. That's quite a quick fix though.
Well, you would think it'd
Okay,
be a
yeah.
quick. You think it'd be a quick fix, but most people take months to roll fixes out.
That's true.
Oh, that speaks of then some like the Dora metrics, uh, uh, lag
Dora
time
metric. Yeah, lag time. Those Dora metrics are great.
from commit to deployment.
Yeah, that's a nice ratio, right? A nice metric to look at how long it
Yeah,
takes. Yeah.
and then on the
Scorecard report.
yeah, I was going to say that's where it's headed. Open it up, scorecard.
Oh, that's cool.
Da, da, da. So there's two things with scorecard. There was like the average score, and then scorecard of I want to say implemented versus non-implemented. So we actually will be, we can tell if there's a package or something that's been, they have scorecard turned on, or if they don't have scorecard turned on. And we can get like a percentage. What were some of the other Dora metrics one? Lag time, number of deployments.
Number of deployments.
I don't know why I have such a lag today on Google Docs.
Just our thoughts on the most used package. Shall we also list it out the one hasn't been used for a while?
Oh yeah.
That's a good one.
I don't know, my previous company always good at creating new things and never good at
Yeah.
get rid of the old stuff. So we got loads of package there all the time.
Yeah, I'm
And
trying to
also
think how to phrase that.
Yeah.
And how we would determine that. I'm going to put a question mark by that one on.
Or obsolete packages.
Right.
So Dora metrics is deployment frequency, cycle time, sometimes called lead time for changes, the change failure rate, and the mean time to restore.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
those are.
outdated dependencies.
What was that, Arvin?
Outdated dependencies.
Oh, that's kind of what this one is. Obsolete packages.
Yeah, that's the official term used NPM used.
Yeah. There is. Well, there is one that kind of goes along. Number of fixes available is. I want to call it drift from use package to the most recent.
I'm
Service
sorry,
runs.
Steve. How is this going to different of number of fixes available though?
When you look at the a vulnerability, so when you look at a CVE, it will tell you if which version has a fix available. So let's say you have here I can show you real.
I was just wondering, is there any similarity between the fix available and the drift avoider?
It's going to be slightly different. Let's look at. I think this one is. Come on, search. Okay, so here's a vulnerability in the snake YAML. And let me pick that one. So if we look at this vulnerability, we can see down here, it's going to have the affected versions. So it's going to say anything that's 1 point star is broken. And then we know that it was fixed in 2.0. So that's how we can tell whether there's a fix available and whether you've applied it or not. So from the SBOMs, we can say we have, you know, 50 components are using version 1 point something, and out of the, and there's another 20 that are using 2.0. So we can say that the for those 50, there's a fix available. Does that make sense? Kind of what
Yep.
I'm getting at?
Yeah, yep. So your drifted away means the one between 1 point start and then 2.0. You want to list it out, all the
Yeah.
available versions for people fix. But then, some of those, they have to be patched. I don't know whether any package have to be applied in sequence.
The patching would be another thing that has to happen totally separate than just from the reporting aspect of it. Because based on your interdependencies, you may not be able to go to 2.0 for some reason. So I ran into this with just recently with which one was it? I think it was Fast API. So Fast API bumped their version of they made a fix to fix a CVE, but they were then dependent upon Starlet, and Starlet hasn't moved up and patched their thing. So there's like a 3 week lag between the one fix being applied and the other one, and you couldn't apply the new one because the other one would break it because of the dependency constraints.
Mhm.
So there are these windows that when you get into the dependency constraints that you may be exposed because of that. You're not being able to move forward everything. So that there are scenarios where what I want to do is just at the dashboard level be able to display that out of all your components and all your packages, there are 50, 50 affixes that need to be applied. Whether you can apply them all or not, you may not be able to just because of the dependency packages. But there are a huge number that are available for you to work on.
Okay, yeah, I see.
And I kind of on that same topic, what is, and I don't know how we would determine most.
Well, this is really good stuff, eh? Those metrics.
So that one is kind of in the same realm here, how to determine.
Can these metrics then can you then provide
I,
information on the impact to business or how or why you should fix them kind of on a rating level? Which ones you should fix first because the impact on your business is this,
Right.
right? Otherwise, you're just getting all these metrics. Okay, so I have issues, but like, sure, this is the worst one, but why is it the worst one? Do they
So
already
shall
tell you
Yeah.
that?
shall we prioritize them then?
Yeah, exactly. It's like fix this because if you don't, you're gonna be hacked and lose like $1
Well,
billion.
I'm just sorry. I'm just looking at the top four. Those are kind of quite basic, essential stuff, right? You need to know all those, do we?
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, just it's a good landing page thing to say this is how much stuff you have defined.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's where I was going to go next was what type of object or box would we use to display some of these metrics in? So number of components and number of applications, number of reusable components. Uh, I don't know what that would be. If we would, we could do it over time. So we could do it like a bar graph over time. So a monthly bar graph or something like that we could do, showing the number of components and applications that are out there.
Steve, we will add the service health, all the microservice health.
I don't know where we would get that information from, Arvin. Right now, that is the service house is not in the data model.
Okay.
Maybe these two, 1 and 2 are combined into, or 1, 2, and 3 are combined like into a line chart or something, that we can show over time how things are increasing and decreasing.
Just another
So
thought though, Steve. Do you think is it worth we put all those four information in one chart as bar chart? So you have a one chart
we
have
could.
everything, and then people can drill down if they really want to know the over time to the next level.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then as application owner, or you go in, so you have one chart give you everything, right? And also I think one of the one down below is like how many vulnerabilities, because that's now getting more critical now for business. So which is they probably need to using this as part of their budgeting as well to plan for the resources. So those are quite critical for people.
Right. Exactly. So let me just, where'd my Zoom? So these are just some. These are just, there's other graphing ones that are out there. Any of these jump out for what we're talking about? There's bars.
I think I remember Elizabeth showing some really cool stuff a while ago.
Yeah, we had some in the some links in our old in the history of the document.
Yeah.
That we'll probably have to go back and look at.
A lot of cool stuff there.
Yeah, a lot of it is there's a lot of options, put it that way.
Yeah, I quite like that Ortelius one currently with the bottom left, a zoomable sunburst. That's quite cool actually. Yeah, but I like what Jinx I like what
here's
Jinx said too. Very
Actually,
good
we
idea.
can do one thing. We go to our requirements and we can see like for what feature we have to show the overall number, and for what feature I want developer to like go deep. So in that way we can decide the chart. If I don't want a developer to go deep, then I can show any overall chart that will work. But if I want dependency that the user to click on
exactly.
it, then I
So
want. Yeah.
yeah, I think at the high level, we're just trying to create that overall dashboard for people to land on and get some information. So this is one of those charts, Jen, that combines all three or all four different metrics into one with the different lines, and that's going over time. Because we have the time scale if we want to use it. I just don't know what we would use if we didn't use a time scale. Oh, there's a blow up version of it.
Well, I can see the
We can.
benefits of time scale though. Sorry, Arvind. Because for time scale, basically, you kind of, if in a large organization, particularly for some of the people helping managing those vulnerabilities, so which is give them kind of a trend in monthly or quarterly basis. Because nowadays, most of people probably using, Scrum or Agile process. So that's going to be help them to do their planning, in each sprint and how they're going to plan their resources for it as well, though. So I can see definitely time is useful.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, you hit it right on the head with aligning the time scale to your Scrum practices. So if it's going to be, a 3 day, well, the typical sprint of 3 days to a week, we could break the time scale into that. Probably weekly would be pretty good to be able to kind of give a snapshot at the end of every week where you stand for your vulnerabilities and your number of your components and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. And more dev teams, they actually incorporate some of their operations into the dev team's responsibilities as well. So which is in
Yeah.
most of them do 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sprints. So yeah, so give them weekly view will be really useful.
Yeah.
We
And
can
let me
also
see.
use like the releases and the version bump.
Use which part?
The release and the version bump.
Yep. I'm just trying to pull up this one. Internet's really slow today. Come on. So these are always popular too. These circular bar charts or pie graphs, however you want to call them.
Yeah, these are very nice though. For high
Oh,
level,
here's
yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, I
and we're
agree.
we're
They are
definitely
very, very
talking high
nice.
level. Oh, this is a cool bar chart. We could do weekly
Oh, that
or
is cool.
monthly.
Yeah, that is
Yeah, that
cool.
can be the
So
breakdown.
yep.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Let me,
Yeah, can you share the link in the chat?
yeah, I'm gonna share the link in the chat and in the doc.
I just read it from the screen of Steve. I went there now.
There you go. Let me put it in a doc.
Yeah, that's a nice one. How many empanadas can you eat before you have to go to hospital?
Cool.
I'm learning all about Spanish cuisine,
Yeah, healthy,
or
right? Spanish cuisine.
at least South American cuisine, let's say. It's crazy good.
I haven't been to South America, so I don't know. Is there a difference between South America and Spanish though? I know Spanish have big influence down there.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's too good. I'm gonna have to do a bit of a lot of exercise when I get back home.
You have to get back to surfing.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna work off a little bit of a belt here.
Oh, interesting that they have this these buttons here to kind of change the look
Yeah,
of
I
the
really
data.
like this diagram though. Yeah, so you can
Oh,
have a
that is
different view.
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very nice.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's always you're not having to scroll for ages, right, to different graphs and
Yeah.
metrics, right? You can just
yeah,
click on that
yeah.
toggle button. That's very nice. Yeah,
Mm.
that is really nice. So what do you want to see, depending on the sprint or whatever depending on what you're doing, right? Or want to
Yeah.
try and portray. Yeah, that's great.
And the other nice thing is they give the summary
Yes.
numbers over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You could
that's
probably
very
use this.
neat though for a high level diagram. You have number
Mm,
there, and you kind of very visually appearing though.
yes. And you could
Yep.
gamify this.
Now I don't.
You could make
Yeah,
teams compete
definitely.
against each other. Like we solved so many vulnerabilities in our application. How many did
Yeah.
you solve?
See, the way I would use it, if I have that chart, I would link to my dashboard to executives, so then they can also have a
Yes.
dynamic view for this, right? It's not kind of manipulated data, so I would directly link them to that part.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
and
it's easy for them.
I think this one in the middle here, this kind of line graph, and I don't think this one would work for us, but I think these top ones and these couple bottom ones we would be able to make work.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I like
Let's
simple
look at
style.
some of,
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
yeah. So that kind of takes care of 1, 2, 3, 4. Top 10 most used. This one could actually fit into the where am I? Into this percentage thing. So you could lay out the top 10 packages, and you could show which one is the most used percentage wise versus the other ones.
Yeah. I was
So
thinking
I
from
think
5 to 8, you can put it on another pie, right? So 1 to 4 can be in a pie. It's a total summary of your entire estate. And then you can have 5 to 8. So that can have another pie. So basically it's all your packages, vulnerabilities, top 10, what's the total number? Or maybe even 7, 8 can be bundled into the top 4. So that's your high level information.
And then you've said 5 through 8.
5 through 6, the top 10, both top 10 most used. So that also you can give another pie.
Okay.
And then 10 and 11.
What
For
about
those?
7 and 8?
Yes. So sorry, 7 and 8. Can 7 and 8 bundled into the 1 to 4? Can that be an overall summary? So you know your components, you know your package, and you know how many vulnerabilities you're going to have or how many fixes already. So basically, from that overall,
I think
yeah.
if we bundled 1 through 3 and then 4, 5, and 6. 4 through 6 in that one. No, 8. 4 through 8. So these here are all in one chart, and then these here are all in a second chart.
And how about the number of deployments?
Oh, actually, I think it's going to be. I think you're onto it. So it's going to be. We're going to have a kind of. Let's do this. I'm going to move this one down. So we do 1 through 3, and then we take and bundle 4 and 5 into the next one. It's a little funky because I'm running off of the page. Let me do this. 4 and 5 into a pie chart, and then 6, 7, and 8. 6 through 8 in another. Maybe another pie chart?
Yep.
Does that sound right for those?
Oh, that looks great. Nice
I
work,
think
Jim.
actually 6, 7, 8, I think should be a bar chart.
Uh,
So you'd have your total across one of the bars, you'd have your total packages, and then you'd have the number of vulnerabilities would be the next bar, and then the number of fixes available would be the third bar, basically.
Steve, I also shared a Figma link in the chat which contain a lot of different other charts.
Let me go over to chat. Keeps disappearing on me. Go away. Figma's really slow today.
yeah, sure looks like it. It's taking forever to load, eh?
Yeah.
Steve, you need to come to Chile because the slowest speed here is 500 up and 500 down. That's the slowest for 30 USD a month. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
The
that's
slowest,
insane.
it's insane. It's insane, man. I'm like, I can't believe it. That's the slowest. I pay 60 USD for 100 up and 100 down. I'm like, this is not fair.
Yeah, we're about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you got here, Arvin?
Different charts with the context and where they are using, so we can get more idea. I think it's
Hmm.
load.
Okay,
Oh, that's
cool.
cool.
Okay, cool. We'll have to pick out which ones we want to utilize. And is this just dark mode over here of the same data?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right, cool. Let's look at, so what we'll need to do is take what we're going to kind of bundle together here and start plopping it into the Figma with some mocked up data. So right now it looks like we have 4 charts. So I would say maybe we have 3 charts. We want at least 4 to balance it out, and maybe up to even 6 charts on the landing page. So like Arvin had here, about 6 different items on it. Seems to be like a good landing page without shrinking things super small. So I'd say we want to shoot for 6 things as part of that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really great. Yeah.
I think that's good code.
So let's see. I'm going to kind of rearrange these a little bit again, so I'm going to mess people up slightly just to put packages. So this package dependencies kind of go up here with kind of like the overall Now, of course, I'm going to screw up my numbers. So 1 through 3, 4 and 5, 4, 5, 6, 7. 4 through 7 will be the stuff about the packages. And then 8, 9, and 10. And then somehow we do the scorecard stuff. Uh, 11 and 12. Those are kind of like percentages or something. Maybe just a simple box. I'm just going to put there for now. And then, so that gets us to 12. And then these lag time, number of deployments, those are kind of like, that could be a bar chart as well, I'm thinking. 13 and 14 are bar charts. And then 15 would be our last box, and maybe in that, or maybe that would just be
A table with top 5
yeah,
entries.
yeah, it would be cool. We could do that. Where is it? Let me see if it has. We could do one of those world map things. Let me go ahead and put that down for just a starting point. It could be. Where is it? Could be the bubble map, or one of these world maps showing where the most of them are coming from.
The third one looks good.
This one here,
Yeah, third
or
one.
that? This one?
Yes.
Yeah, we need to show the whole world, because a lot of them are going to come from. A lot of the vulnerabilities come out of China, Russia, Iran, those actors. So let me just put a world map in there for a placeholder. If I can get it all on the same page. All right, cool. So I will try to go through and figure out what the actual metrics are. So like in 1 through 3, how are we going to calculate the metrics, and what are the metrics going to be, so we know the scale. If this can be a person, over time, or if it's just going to be a percentage, those type of things. Well, we'll have to see. And it would be nice to be able to incorporate those buttons like they had to change the view. I'll just see if any of the data allows us to do that, or if we just don't have that many categories yet to implement that. So let me do a
Can
little
I
bit of work
create
on
a
this. Can you
can I
create
create
what?
a POC on the front end part with these categories?
Yeah, what we need to do is so the next step will be to take these categories, and then like you said here, we'll need to take, let's say, the vertical bar box, take it out of here and plop it into your Figma in a certain spot.
Yeah,
So
I
we'll have to
will.
take these different components and components from this one and plop them into the Figma so we have a better understanding of what the data is going to look like. Does that make sense, Arvind?
Yes, I will update the design
Okay.
by tomorrow.
Okay. And I'll work on which ones, what the data is going to look like, because I'm pretty familiar with the data, to understand what the categories are going to be and things like that.
Yeah.
Because when I dive into the data, we may end up recategorizing or grouping things together slightly different. But I think we have a good starting point for today.
Yes. Does the matrix will increase? Like we have 15 points today, maybe we will got 30 points later, or the matrix will be around like this.
Yes, definitely. And I think right now these are. I'm sure we could come up with another 15 if we really tried. But I think this is a good starting point for where we're at.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, anything else? And if anybody wants to
Yes.
help work on figuring out these the metrics, the math part of the metrics, let me know, and we can set up some time to work on it.
You know what? You're all so smart. It's amazing. This is so cool. I learned a lot here.
Yeah, and Sasha, based on like all the work you've done with different banks and things like that, if there's anything else you can think of metrics wise that we should be taking a look at, drop them in here.
Sure. From experience that I've had, I've always found that these observability tools are just far too overly complicated. It looks like a trance party on your screen, and you don't know where to start, right? So I think I like the way we're trying to condense it into just very simple. Yeah, I like that,
Yes.
man. I think it's great.
Yeah, that's why I think some of those, some of these gallery charts are just,
Mm.
you know, looking at some of this stuff is just overwhelming.
Yeah, it's too overwhelming. Everything's too complicated. I mean, I'm just using a really bad example here, but there's a washing machine we've been trying to use here, and it's so overly complicated with so many different programs, so many different
Yeah,
cycles. It takes you like an hour to figure out how to do it. Now I just want to dry the clothes, and I can't do that until I've gone through a billion options. Like, let's not do that.
yeah,
It's like, come on.
exactly.
Just
Like,
because you can do it doesn't mean to say you should,
like
right?
these are just right, right, and stuff like this just doesn't really mean anything to me.
No, exactly. It's like if it's not actionable, then why show it? You need actionable stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it just
exactly.
makes the screen colorful, and I don't know if that's the
Yeah,
goal we want to try to achieve, is to have
yeah.
And
Like
this
it looks
only
a
looks
cool.
good.
colorful screen.
These
It
only
looks cool on
look
a
on the
t-shirt.
curtains. No,
Exactly.
on the curtains.
We're not trying to design a t-shirt here. We're trying to design meaningful data that people can take action on for humans to make their lives better. That's what we're trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. I really like
All right,
yeah,
cool.
Actually,
cool.
Yep, and
actually,
I
we
would
use
keep
this.
coming back to.
Mm.
I would actually keep coming back to this hotel reservation thing because this is pretty simple for what we're
Yeah, it's
looking at.
great. It's a really great example. Yeah.
So
Yes.
I would just
Steve, if you
keep
want,
this in the back of your
uh,
mind.
I can replicate this whole design with the light and the dark theme.
We don't need to deal with light and dark themes yet. I think it's not. It's going. What we need to do is just get the initial layout in place, and then once we get the layout in place, then we can do a dark theme version. But it's no sense doing that work if we're gonna like all of a sudden rip out the whole half of the screen
Yeah.
and replace
No,
it with something
exactly.
else. So
Yeah. Exactly.
um,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't worry about light and dark and just get some basics in place.
Yeah. Cool. This is looking good.
And like I said, I'll look into the metrics and how they're calculated, so we understand if we want to do something over time, or if we just want to do totals and percentages, those type of things.
Yeah.
I think we got the grouping pretty good.
Yeah, well done, Jim.
So, anything else?
Uh, Steve, do you have some time after the meeting?
Uh, yeah, I do.
Okay.
So let me stop sharing and stop recording and just hang on here, Arvin, and we'll keep going.
Yes.
Cool.
All right, thanks everybody.
All right.
Thank you,
Yes.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.